All right, Happy New Year. It's already 2026 and we are off and running. Um so here's the theme for today is you don't need a better script. You need to think differently or think more specifically, you need to think more deeply. And AI is I think I've said a couple times already in the last month or so, AI doesn't fix bad thinking or doesn't fix broken systems or doesn't scale businesses that don't yet operate correctly. It accelerates all of that. So if you have systems that aren't working correctly, if you have messages that aren't working correctly, if you have scripts that aren't getting the effect, using AI only gets you no effect more and more faster. Um, there was a question in an earlier discussion group I was in this morning, um, evening UK time, which said, and it said, is this dollar amount a reasonable cost per click? And I and another party are off on Facebook Messenger on this, on having a sidebar saying that that's the wrong question because what you're paying in cost per click only matters if you're closing those leads. If you're paying to put the right message in front of the wrong audience, or you're paying to put the wrong message in front of the right audience, it doesn't matter how little you pay because you're not closing those sales. So the question, the what is the cost? Is this a good cost per click? Is in the middle of the conversation. Who is my audience? What is my message? Can I test that message with that audience? What is how, and I measure that by my conversion rate. Now, cost per click is, as Devin Tracy would call it, money math. It's marketing math. It's business analytics of can I afford this cost per click to generate this rate of conversions? But with not knowing the rate of conversions, the cost per click is irrelevant. And that all ties to um, the point I'm making here today. The point I'm making here today is if you're looking for a better script, if you're looking for a better DM, you're looking for the perfect AI prompt, this session probably will feel uncomfortable, and that's intentional. Most outreach fails not because the words are wrong, but because the conversation was never earned. What we're going to talk about today in context of thinking like a business owner in an AI-enabled world is AI doesn't fix bad thinking. It makes bad thinking louder. AI doesn't fix bad thinking. It amplifies, expands, and emphasizes bad thinking. It takes a poor strategy and puts it on a massive on an exponential scale. Or, and I'm going to read off my AI generated script several times here today. It helps you take an idea and infuse it with a broader context. Because what AI is not is intelligent. What AI is a large language model that recognizes patterns. So if you can feed it a good pattern, it can go look at all of its data and sort that out and say, I know how to give you more context for the conversation you're trying to have. But if you give it if you give it insufficient conversational context, it's going to go out and look at all of its database and it's going to say, here's an answer, and it will lie to you convincingly. So scripts fail. What I said, what I'm saying here on the screen is when context is missing. Specifically, scripts fail because context is missing. AI will gladly help you move faster in a wrong direction. We're not going to have today a tools class. We're not going to teach you a funnel hack. What we're doing is creating a thinking environment for people who are trying to build real businesses instead of hacking someone else's funnel. AI shouldn't and doesn't change what your business is. It changes the speed of the consequences. So if your business is built on a solid foundation, it will launch you exponentially faster. If your business is built on shaky ground, on sand, it will let you shake it apart faster. AI has not broken marketing. AI has revealed people who have already been outsourcing their thinking. When people come into a mastermind that's hosted by a company whose name shall remain nameless, but whose initials rhyme with high level. Yeah, that joke didn't work. And the people come into the training and they say, okay, what's the script that's going to get me attention in these Facebook groups? They're outsourcing their thinking to somebody else with some other different set of marketing experiences, and they aren't learning why the idea works. They aren't learning the principles of copywriting. They're not learning the systems and processes. They're trying to pull someone else's ideas and hoping it works for them. The difference between cold outreach that's done well and cold outreach that's done poorly is very rarely the actual words that are in the script. You can listen to all kinds of sales training, and they will tell you when you pick up the phone and call, the first 7 seconds, you need to sound like this. You need to say this. You need to get a micro agreement. You need to get a micro commitment. And the reason that sales training works is because every single call that starts that way works, and every single call that starts that way doesn't work. It's because the exact same person, if you called me and said the exact same thing now, I'm in the middle of this, you're going to get 0% of my attention. If you call me exactly, I don't know, 6 o'clock, there we go, exactly 40, 35, 38 minutes from now and say the exact same thing, you probably will have my attention for 7 to 15 seconds. So the words aren't what matters. The context is what matters. The difference in Hormozy's core four between one-to-one cold and one-to-one warm is in cold outreach, the exact same script is going to somebody who you have not earned trust with. In warm outreach, the exact same script is going to someone who already knows your name. They maybe like and trust you. And if you're all the way to trust, that same script lands a lot different, very differently than if it's cold, if it's if there's no context. Most freelancers aren't failing because their script is bad. They're failing because their audience is too broad. They haven't earned context to use any words, and then they're using words that aren't theirs. The script doesn't fail because the words aren't the right thing. The scripts fail because the context exists without permission. Permission-based marketing. When you've earned permission, the context of the relationship allows you to say things and have an effect on the audience that if you haven't earned that context, it doesn't matter what things you say. You can say the exact same thing and not get the effect. What we're talking about today isn't how to write better messages. If you have the right context, and this is my therefore how it plays out in an AI enabled world, the AI can help me write all this context, all this content. But without the context, you're not going to listen to me. Doesn't matter how well scripted this presentation is. It doesn't matter how clear the thoughts and ideas are in my head if you don't know, like, and trust me. If you do know, like, and trust me, what AI has done is help me frame the thought in a way that maybe will communicate the idea. The training isn't about producing a better message. The training is about, is the message even appropriate? People are copying scripts that say, I can give you a high converting DM templates. What people are copying cold outreach scripts, high converting DM scripts, templates, AI generated prompts, scripts, responses that sound confident, portray competence, which maybe isn't justified. One of the things I see a lot in the high level world is people who respond to queries using text, which is clearly copied and pasted from an AI source. And I don't care if it's Claude or ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT, and so therefore I say ChatGPT, but I mean Gemini or whatever platform you choose to use. Someone will ask a question, and there will be two or three or four responses that were not handwritten by the person giving the response. They are at least there are indicators in the way it's written that sounds very much like someone took that request, pasted into a AI model, took whatever response came back and pasted it back in with no thought on their own. This is the issue. It's not failing because the words are bad. It's failing because the person who's responding to that question is trying to demonstrate authority, trying to demonstrate expertise, trying to demonstrate knowledge, and they're having the exact opposite effect because the people who are listening can tell that that wasn't their original thought. Therefore, the person who's listening doesn't need this person. If the person wanted an AI answer, they could have just gone and got to an AI answer. So you don't win competent context. You don't win permission by regurgitating whatever ChatGPT gave you, regurgitating whatever Claude gave you, whatever Gemini gave you. You earn context, you earn permission by being in relationship with a person. If you're copying someone else's script, the assumption is you have their audience, their reputation, and their timing, and you don't have their audience. Your audience is not their audience. Your competence, your reputation, your authority, your skill set is not their public persona. Their timing with their audience is their timing with their audience. And they're saying, oh, this worked really, really well. Okay, but did it work well because of their name recognition and their authority with their audience? Or did it work well because the script was right? You could say use the exact same, and I'm arguing that it was because of the other two, not because of the script. You could say the exact same thing to your audience. When your offer is different, you don't have the competence to back up the offer that person was making. And your timing is off anyway because you haven't gained permission, you haven't gained responsibility, gained authority in these people's lives. All right. So instead of acting like a marketer, how do you think like a business owner? When you're a person and 90% of your work is being done on this platform, maybe this size platform, you have some great skills and you're bringing some great tools to the table. But if your expectation is, if I just use the right prompt, I'll get a response, you're following someone else's script instead of thinking like a business owner. AI will let you use someone else's script faster, louder, with a larger audience, and you're still going to get no response. You're still going to not get the replies that you're expecting. Business owners think strategically about who is this for? Is it the right offer for them? Do they know, like, and trust me? Have I earned a right in their life to make this point? I've used this example a couple times, and I'm going to use it only a couple more times, especially in this close. Maybe this will be the last time I use it for a couple months. Recently, one of my brothers taught me something really profound. I have advice for this other member of our family, and I would like to share that advice with them, but I know I don't have authority in their life that they would take action based off of me giving that advice. All that would happen is I would generate resentment. I added a whole bunch of words to what he actually said. There's no point in me sharing my advice with that particular family member when I know that all it's going to do is cause resentment, defensiveness, because the person doesn't consider me an authority figure. This is what's happening when you copy someone else's script and paste it or speak it as if it is your own. You haven't earned the right to say that thing in that person's life. The context, the permission structure is the relationship. What the sales scripts try to do is accelerate the relationship process. And the reason it becomes a quote numbers game, end quote, in the sales literature is there's enough. If your number of repetitions is high enough, the saying a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while, a stopped clock is right twice a day, both say that yes, occasionally you can get a sale if you just put the script in front of enough people. But as a previous slide said, no response is not, I'll go back to the slide. Poor responses are not rejection. Poor responses are feedback. Your response, and so often when I have these conversations in DMs, I'll ask somebody, is this getting the response you're expecting? And the reason I've realized I need to reframe, actually, that's probably a good slide, to be honest. The reason I've had to reframe that question is people are misunderstanding what I'm asking. So I probably will use that line very rarely in 2026. But what I did a lot in 2025 was someone would send me a cold DM, and my question is, are you getting the response rate you're expecting? If you're sending this script to 100 people and you're getting 20 real conversations, and of those 20 conversations, you're turning 5 of them into a sale, 5 out of 100 is probably a reasonable response rate. But if you're getting a one conversation out of 100, and that conversation isn't closing into a sale, that's not a rejection of you. That's feedback about your system. That is showing you that your audience is not trusting you with that message. So thinking, if your thought is, why aren't they responding to my message? It's a symptom, it's an indicator that you're using the wrong script with the wrong audience at the wrong time. If if you're only if your question is, what do I have to say to get a response? Or should I use a different script? You're trying to take someone else's audience authority and offer and impose it on a relationship that doesn't exist. AI absolutely can help clarify your thinking. This presentation started with me giving AI a very short and rather vague prompt. Hey, I want to talk on the first Monday of 2026 about some topic about AI as an assistant to deal with how to communicate a value proposition. That's not the words I used in the prompt, but that's the idea. What you're seeing is AI helping me communicate that concept. But you have to give it a clear intent first. Otherwise, it's going to it's going to take whatever you give it that's vague, mushy, focused on the wrong things, targeted at the wrong audience. And it's going to go look at its database and it's going to pattern match and it's going to give you a response that's still not going to be correct in the context you're going to present it. AI cannot build trust between humans. AI cannot choose your timing of when to present your message. Too often, people copy paste AI output as if it is their own messaging. They use AI scripts to talk with strangers as if the stranger already trusts them. AI cannot tell you when silence is the correct answer. That's probably a lie. I literally have trained one of my AI chats. I will share with it. This is the current conversation, and every once in a while, my AI will come back. I should have had a hat ready. Wearing my Command Sergeant Major hat, put my arm around you, sir. With all due respect, this is a time for you to be quiet. I have generated that prompt within my chat so that it knows that that is a correct, that is a response I'm asking it to give me on occasion. And it's getting, in the last 2 weeks, it's gotten much better at being able to say, this is a conversation that's not worth your time having with that person. And it's actually not helpful to them because they're not going to learn from it anyway. Going back to my brother, you don't have authority in that person's life. That person's going to do what they're going to do. If you teach it well, then the statement might be false. The statement is AI cannot know when silence is the correct response because AI is designed, is trained, is the LLM, the large language model is designed to take whatever you give it, go find a pattern, and give you a response back. Only when I've given it explicit instructions. I know that there are times when I should say nothing. Show me those times. Show me when the incident is one of those times. It's starting to be able to put its Sergeant Major hat on and look at me and say, "Hey, dude, you're not going to get anywhere with this conversation." AI can help you say something better. It cannot tell you when you should say nothing at all, to quote the country music song. If you've been around GHL Business Launch for very long, you know that we harp on a couple of key ideas over and over and over and over. There are some specific reasons within the context of GHL Business Launch, and then there's the broader reason within human behavior that applies equally to your business. The broader reality is people are busy living their own life and they are not paying as close attention to you as you wish that they were. People who talk about funnels as the customer journey will often talk in terms of it's the customer journey from unaware to aware to from problem unaware to problem aware, from solution unaware to solution aware, from problem unaware to problem aware to solution unaware, but solution unaware to problem and solution aware to but no provider known to no providers known to making a decision that you're the right provider. Problem unaware people, it doesn't matter what you say to them, They don't even know they have the problem. If they're problem unaware, you have to be at an educational level. You can't even be attracting attention to your offer. You have to be educating what the problem even is. You have to be aggravating what the problem even is. If you put a CTA, a call to action, in front of that problem unaware person, it's just noise and they've already ignored you. So the reason we repeat these issues over and over and over again is human behavior is such that because um the reality is the person you're talking to isn't going through those 6 stages of solving a problem. They're dealing with taking their pet to the vet. They got to get their kid to school, and then from school to track meet to band recital. They've got to get their parents moved from house A to house B. They've got all of these things happening in their life, and you want them to buy your product, and they don't even know you exist. The reason we repeat these things is to model the fact that with your audience, you have to be repeating these things. Um, Donald Miller, the author of Building a Story Brand, says, about the time you have become bored, I think he doesn't, I'm going to put my words on it. Keith would interpret Donald Miller's words to say, about the time you get angry with yourself for sounding like a broken record, it's when your audience finally starts hearing you. You have to say the message repeatedly, and that's what we're modeling. We're modeling the fact that you have to repeat your message. And if your audience is problem unaware, your message has to be educational problem aggravation, not here's my solution. Within GHL Business Launch, we're sharing the idea that we're using the public messaging in Facebook and my social media in the Facebook group primarily to attract attention to this set of problems that the 9 business models and the 9-point marketing plan provide a framework. And Devin Tracy's decision matrix provides a framework for taking your idea for what you want to do as a side hustle or hobby business and gives you the decision-making thought process to decide how to turn that into a full-time lifestyle, family wage earning business, company, job that you own instead of being responsible to a boss. And if that's not what you want to do with your life, then our coaching, our advising, our training isn't for you. But if you have some idea, you have some skills, you know how to do some things, and you're trying to find a path to turn that into a sustained, stable income, that's what we help with. The 9-point marketing plan helps you build clarity before you before you try to communicate. Clarity on what you're communicating, who you're communicating to, when and where that person's going to listen. The decision matrix is what offer is even going to be on the table. What business do you even want to be in? The 9 business models helps you frame who you are serving. And if you're using HighLevel as the foundation of how you provide that service, the 9 business models is ways of thinking about with nuance about how do I help that audience solve whatever problem is important to them. When you're fundamentals are solid, you don't need clever messages. Harking back to Donald Miller again, he says clear beats cute, and that's not a quote. I think he's um, clear beats clever, I think is the way he says it. Too many people are trying to come up with clever taglines, and they're not clear about how they're solving a problem, or even what problem they're solving and who has that problem. So this is talking about GHL Business Launch explicitly with the idea that you're going to translate this concept into your own business format, your own business structure. Um, the founder of BNI, Business Networking International, is Dr. Ivan Misner. Ivan Misner says you can network anywhere and anytime, but you have to be respectful of the space. If you are in the business world, it is totally acceptable and appropriate if you're at a funeral to be thinking about how the conversations I'm having in this funeral might lead to business opportunities in the future. What is absolutely not appropriate is to stick your business card in front of somebody and say, hey, buy my thing. Not the right time, not the right place, not the right context. I'd love to have a conversation with you at a different time on some other topic. Would be an appropriate conversation in that setting. Too many people are treating social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as advertising broadcast channels when they are conversational relationship channels. What do your family and friends use Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, etc., LinkedIn for? They use it to have conversations about their life, not so much LinkedIn. LinkedIn and Alignable are specifically small business, are specifically business, and LinkedIn in particular is business networking. They just maybe they don't really call it that because they were originally designed as a um, job seeking setting. But job seeking is just the ultimate path of networking. Networking is the idea that if you meet enough people, actually, we're going to quote somebody else. We're going to quote Zig Ziglar. You can have anything in your life that you want as long as you help enough other people get what they want. Networking is about finding people who want things, helping them get those things. The rewards will come back to you. Instead of using your social media content as a place to push your product, instead of using the DMs as a place to try to close sales, networking says use those tools as a way to build relationships that let you find out what someone wants and solve that problem for them. In the context of GHL Business, our Facebook page, our Facebook group is public. It assumes low context. One I just said we repeat the things over and over again because we assume people aren't hearing, but specifically we repeat the same things over and over and over again because we assume with 4,700, 4,800 people in the Facebook group at this point, most of them aren't even seeing the content on a quarterly basis or an annual basis, let alone on a daily or weekly basis. So if I'm putting content onto the Facebook group a couple times a day at the most, couple times a week at the least, I'm assuming that the handful of people who are actually seeing it live or seeing it within 24, 48 hours of when it's published is really small. Out of 4,800 people, it's not 1%, it's not 48 people, it's 4 or 5 people. Maybe on a good reach post is actually I should just scroll a couple of these posts. 12 reach of 12, reach of 25, reach of 27. Okay, that's nice. 96. We're getting bigger reach than I really thought. Okay, that's cool. Um, but I'm also not expecting most of you to purchase anything from us ever. It's intended, what we're putting on Facebook is intended to orient you to the ways that we think about approaching your approaching your business that's based on high level, or approaching your business that happens to use high level in the course of running your business, to give you enough context to decide whether you trust us enough to slide over into the Kollab group. The Kollab group is deliberately private so that you can be safer asking your questions in that setting, because there's a shared context. And the reason we have the OmniHub Challenge short course, which is 5 lessons, it takes about 2 hours if you're slow. The reason we have that shared context, that private community with shared context, is now we have a shared framework to have conversations about. When I ask somebody, tell me 3 to 5 sentences for each of the 9 points of your 9-point marketing plan, the assumption once we get over in the Kollab group is they've already gone through that introductory training. They already understand the context of what I'm saying. When I present the ideas of 9 business models and 9-point marketing plan and Devin's decision matrix for picking a side hustle in the first place, every time I talk about them, I have to explicitly describe what they are, because I have to assume that this is the first time you've heard this message. The reason so many cold outreach messages fail is because they're using insider jargon as if you and I were already over inside the Kollab group, when the relationship hasn't gone past I see there's a phone number on my phone and I decide to go ahead and take the call, or in my Facebook Messenger or my LinkedIn Messenger, I see a name and an initial message. The advantage of those platforms is at least there's a profile pic. And oh, by the way, if you send me a cold DM on LinkedIn and you don't have a profile pic, you're already starting way behind the power curve. Because most of these scripts assume you are coming from a position of authority when the person you're talking to doesn't even know you exist. Depth without context, depth in the required call to action, or the amount of data that would need to be processed without a context of a relationship, feels invasive. Brevity, a short, people who teach sales training say you should keep it short and sweet. But if it's short and sweet, but it lacks existing context, it's vague and empty. It's just fluffy words. It's not a relationship. There's a lot of people out there who are selling the idea that you can use this script and you can get sales this afternoon. Use this script and you'll have cash in the door by the end of the week. Use this script, write this prompt, and it's a money printing machine. That's interesting. Oh, that's why. I had to scroll down on my notes. In GHL Business Launch, we tell you 30 days is enough time to build new habits. 90 days is enough time to start seeing financial indicators that you're on the right path. And only after a year, Devin talks about the 5 ones. The fifth one of the 5 ones is 1 year. Pick a path, commit to taking that path for 1 year, because it's going to take a year to know whether it's working or whether you should pivot in an entirely different direction. In the context of a sales funnel, finishing that thought. These people who are promising, use this script, you'll get money by the end of the week. Yes, once in a while, the flash to bang is short enough that yes, you'll get that effect. But usually, because you don't have context with the person you're having a conversation with, even if you find the right person, the odds that it's the right with the right message, the odds that it's the right time is pretty low. In the sales world, people are told to treat, let me think about it. Let me talk to partner, whatever that partner relationship is. They're taught to treat that as an objection. I would argue that it might be an objection. It also might be a reality. And without the context of a relationship, you don't know which it is. And so in the sales world, they're taught you are taught to treat it as an objection. If you had relationship and you had to start to have this conversation, and they said, "I need to think about this," let's use easy numbers. So let's say it's the 14th of the month. What's the likelihood that the budget is already set for the current month? Probably pretty high. Today is the 6th. So say this conversation is happening on the 7th of the month. Does that business have you want to offer I'm going to offer a great deal. I've got a $2,500 website that I'm going to offer for $1,000 this month only. What's the odds that they have $1,000 committed to rebuilding their website and they're just waiting for the right vendor to come along? Probably pretty low. So if you say, I've got a great deal, I'm doing a $2,500 or $3,500, $3,600 website, and I'm going to offer it for $1,000. The likelihood is, even if that's the thing they need, they're still going to tell you, I need to wait till the end of the month. Because they probably don't have $1,000 of free cash just sitting, waiting for you to come along. So we tell you in GHL Business Launch, it takes 30 days to build new patterns. It takes 90 days to see the financial results. That's why. You can get a couple sales quick, maybe cover your expenses, especially since the barrier to entry to being a high-level agency is pretty low. Incredibly low, I would argue. But you're going to need most of your sales are going to happen in months 2 and 3, not in month 1. Therefore, 90 days to get the momentum. How that plays out in your marketing is the people who are trying to sell you a script, the sales coaches, the gurus, keep telling you it's just a numbers game, just burn through the relation, burn through the contacts. I'm suggesting that it takes 30 days of being in touch with this person on a every third, fourth, fifth day to breed familiarity and change the tone of the conversation from I have no idea to I like who you are to like the way you think. I appreciate your perspective. You're a unique person. You're presenting yourself as a unique individual, not as a regurgitator of AI drivel. Your responses don't feel forced, scripted. They feel like a natural relationship person. That lets the relationship build to conversations that change from I recognize you to I respect and trust you. Relationships don't compress. There's another country song that says, "Ladies spell love Time." Relationships don't compress into a 3.5 minute phone call. They don't compress into a 7 second um, pattern interrupt. Scripts are promising shortcuts. The AI, the get the right AI prompt is promising a shortcut that doesn't work, that doesn't have reality, that can work occasionally in reality, but it isn't long-term sustainable. The reason that in the marketing world they talk about agency churn so much is the relationships aren't built, the relationships are built on financial transactions driven by a script instead of by a human to human relationship. So instead of trying to expect immediate results because you're using the perfect script, if you go into the conversation from a networking perspective, I'm trying to build relationships and I'm going to see where the relationships lead naturally on their own. You're going to get some low response rates initially. That's normal. That's the early responses are totally reasonable, totally expected. And that's what and that's okay. You should just then work on building on the ones that do respond. Let's have a nurturing, ongoing conversation. You should actually treat a high response rate as something to be suspicious of. If there are high responses from people who should not otherwise trust you, that's probably an indicator that they think they're talking to someone else. They think they have expectations that are different than yours. So here's what to do this week. Don't change your script. Don't go write a new prompt. Don't start a new automated outreach. Instead, pick up a mirror and watch what you're actually doing. Who are you talking to? Where are you having the conversation with them? What have you earned the right to say in their life? I expect you to never give me the answer to this question. This is a entirely rhetorical, entirely self-reflective question. Before you push send, when you're writing that, oh, I've gone through my CRM, I found the perfect contact. Before you push send, you type the perfect script. This is the question. If this person receives the message, what do they actually know about me? Do they actually know? Because I think I'm pretty important in my world. I think I'm pretty important in the world, but I bet you think that about yourself. Are you that important in their world? Before you push send on that message, what do they actually know about me? And we're going to get into this conversation more over the course of the year. So I'm not going to go, I'm just going to cue this up. If you're pushing a script, I just ask, what do they know about me? Do they actually know me? Do they actually like me? Do they actually trust me? Or do I just think they know, like, and trust me? And here's the then so that's the context of whether you even have a right to push the message. Then before you push a message that asks them to do anything, the next question is, do they have the problem that this message solves? Do you know them well enough to know that that's an actual problem that they actually have, or do you just hope they have this problem? We are not anti-automation. We are anti-unearned communication. We are not anti-cold outreach. We are anti lacking cold outreach that lacks context. Cold outreach that assumes buyer intent without a diagnostic conversation. This program, GHL Business Launch, teaches how to think and then how to use the tools to help you think. How to think, and then about your strategy, how to use tools to develop your strategy, how to decide what tactics to use to implement that strategy, and then what tools to use to execute those tactics. Only after you have those things should you be writing specific messages. The scripts, the messages, the prompts are an outgrowth of the strategy. The strategy is you thinking like a business owner instead of just copying someone else's script. Most people don't need better scripts. Yeah. Most people don't need better scripts. Most people don't need better words. They need better judgment. Most people, though, half the time the script is good enough as it is. There's a reason that the sales trainer provided you that script. It's a tested and true script. It's stood the test of time. It works, but it works in a context. Judgment. Oh, this is a great one. There's a saying that goes, discretion is the better part of valor. Discretion is knowing when to not be aggressive. Discretion is knowing when to not be bold. Discretion is really hard to determine because taken to the extreme, discretion leads to bogged down, mired, stuck, unmoving. That's not a good place to be. You need enough discretion to know when to not say something and enough boldness to say with confidence the thing you need to say when it's time to say it. Discretion helps you, the judgment helps you know when to exercise discretion versus the times you should be bold. And you need to be bold more often than you need to be practice discretion. But discretion is the better part of valor. And if you don't have context for the words you're getting ready to speak, and the context is the relationship with the person that you're speaking those words to, judgment would say exercise discretion. I'm Keith Bashirs. Thank you for listening to my presentation on outbound communication when you're thinking like a business owner in an AI-enabled world. AI will help you write the words. Your human judgment guides the prompt that you write to the AI to develop the words that fit in the context of the relationship you're injecting, that you're energizing with your words. AI can help you articulate an idea that you have clarity. It can actually help you form it. So here's a tip. This is totally off script now. This is what I've done with the presentation that I just gave you. And I told you the AI has started acting like my command sergeant major. If you have a clear idea and you can express that idea to AI, it can help you bring expansion and precision to that idea. But it cannot invent clarity. When I first started using AI, my biggest frustration with it was too agreeable. It will gladly agree with any idea that I presented to it. And until you teach it that you expect it to push back on occasion, it will tell you that every one of your ideas is brilliant. And if you're 22, probably even if you're 32, you probably think all of your ideas are brilliant. When you get past about 45, 50, you start realizing, yeah, I have a lot of ideas that aren't all that great. But if you're 25, 35, and AI is telling you that it's a great idea, you're probably going to believe the AI. Hopefully, what I'm doing here is sharing some of my decades to say maybe you should question whether AI's agreement with you is helpful to you. I'm Keith Bashirs. Wow, that worked really well. So thank you, Zoom. That worked exactly the way I expected it to. I see Zoom, this session has ended. This live video has ended. A recording will be available soon. It will be available soon. Perfect. So thank you.